is Julian Camarena.
And I'm Adrian Camarena.
And we are here with a very special guest, actress, comedian, and singer, Liana Mendoza. She has appeared in shows such as American Horror Story, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and Better Call Saul. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
Thank you for having me. I feel so fancy.
So you are originally from Los Angeles?
Yep.
Born and raised?
Los Angeles native, the rare ones.
How was it growing up here?
Interesting.
Yeah?
That's a great question because it's super interesting. It's interesting because I see people come in and out, obviously. Like, they're like, oh, I'm gonna move to LA, I'm gonna make it, da 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 da. And then the people that end up coming here from like other states or whatnot, they like end up thinking they're full of themselves or like high and mighty. They're like, oh yeah, so I did a reality TV. Do you know who I am? And I'm like,
that reminds me of someone.
Is that how you are?
No.
He's like, only in my spare time.
People are pretty clever about how they like drop names in their conversation.
Yeah,
That's what I noticed. Like people that just come here and stuff and they've been here for a little bit, they get really smooth about dropping people's names in just random conversation.
Like
Yeah,
I
like
just did Usher?
Yeah. Yeah, like I know Julian Camarena.
No big deal. Oh, JC? We go back. Yeah.
So you started out, you actually did comedy initially.
Yeah, I was a teenager and I started doing comedy. I was working with this wonderful woman. She's still a comedian now, Jody Miller. And I started doing comedy and then I was like, wait a second, I'm not getting paid. So I really like the idea of making money and entertaining people. And so I went into acting. And then now that I've kind of stabilized myself as an actor.
So what initially got you interested in getting into comedy in the first place?
I always love making people smile and laugh. You know, when people are in crappy moods, especially in my family. There was so many crappy moods growing up Latina.
It's like Aiden, he's grumpy. He's always...
I noticed that right when I walked in.
Yeah,
he's like,
I'm a stand-up, but you
it's funny, yeah, he's a stand-up comedian too, and he's kind of grumpy in his spare
nice.
time.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, they say that's what happens to us. Like, we're like the most grumpy and depressed people, but we go around making other people laugh.
Well, yeah, because we're always talking about like grumpy stuff, but we're making fun of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Fact. It's a fact, yeah. So I loved making people laugh. In my family, there was a lot of dissension, a lot of arguments, you know. I'm Latina.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
We know how it is growing up in a Latino family. So
Exactly.
were you the funny kid growing up?
Always.
Were you the troublemaker growing up?
Troublemaker, class clown, always just making a joke of people. I remember actually I had this aunt. I don't know if she talks to me anymore because of this joke. But she was just always very grumpy. And this is really like risque, but as a comedian, you have no rules, right? Yeah. So she actually, I think she was born without an arm. And so when she would get grumpy, I would just take my arm and like stuff it in and I would go around pretending like I was gonna hit people. But she would laugh after a while. I was like, come on, man.
So when you come up with material for your sets now, is it more like experiences that you've had, or do you just?
Yeah, I love taking from my own life experience. And then I do some observational humor, like, you know, just taking whatever I see and then putting it through my, what I call Liana filter, and then spewing it back out as a joke. For example, like all of these girls on social media, you know, that are like, oh, I'm so hot, look at my butt, da, da, da. Stuff like that. I'm like, but the guy behind that with like a big fat belly who wants your payment, like I'll make fun of those kinds of things, you know, or just how different guys will hit on me. You know, I'll say, you know, I get...
Same.
Same problem.
Same, I have that problem all the time.
Like you get dick pics in the DM in the daily? It's ridiculous.
Oh, I gotta be careful when I open my Snapchat.
Julian, especially, yeah.
See, so you know. So I just take things like that happen in everyday life.
But I'm flattered regardless if you're one of those people.
Are you? I'm just wondering, like, why do I have to know if your butthole is bleached?
You don't have to send it to me, but I'm flattered either way.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
I prefer to not get them unless it comes with like a Venmo payment at the same time.
When you first started acting, what did you start out in, commercials or did you go straight into TV shows?
I did start off in commercials. Good guess. Yeah. I started off as a commercial actor as a baby. Well, toddler. I did like the Oscar Mayer Wiener commercial. I still remember the freaking sound.
Do you know about Oscar Mayer Wiener? You might be
I remember because of our teacher, Mr. C.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Oscar
the
Mayer.
Oscar.
I remember Tern used to have an Oscar Mayer Wiener whistle thing.
Yeah, so, yeah, see? Oscar Mayer Wiener girl, yeah. Now I just see Oscar's Wiener in my DM. But yeah, I started as a child commercial actor, and then I took a pause, went to school, went through the whole...
You got into theater or play?
I did get into theater after I graduated from school, and then I delved into comedy at the same time, and I was like, wait, I'm getting paid for the acting thing, but not the comedy thing, so
I also heard you were in something about stunts or with like dealing with weapons or
I actually was training in Taekwondo when I was like 12 years old.
Cool.
And then I got really, really into the martial arts scene. I got into like Kapap, which is Israeli hand-to-hand combat fighting. It's similar to Krav Maga, but a lot more like ruthless. It's like gouge your eyeballs out. And so I actually got discovered by this very, very well-known stuntman named Bob Yerkes. And he's like, you should train, because he saw my martial arts work. So he's like, you should train in my backyard. He has a backyard that's like super top secret, but it's a training ground for like every single stunt man or woman that you've ever seen in the movies. And so I started training with him and a lot of other people, and then I started doing stunts first before I even went back into principal.
like a stuntman, Mr. Miyagi or something.
Yeah, totally is, yeah.
That's cool. So do you still practice at all or do any of this stuff?
I still do like hand-to-hand combat stuff or like weapon, you know.
You've never had to actually gouge anybody's eyes out?
Let me think.
A bad date?
I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure at some point I did.
Ever use it in any of your acting roles?
I have, yeah. I did this movie called Decisions, and so I did some stunt work there. I did G.I. Joe. So I did some rappelling in that movie, which is really fun. I sort of transitioned out of the stunt world as I became more of a principal actor. Want to move into being leading lady actress, right? So I'm like, okay, I got to start to move out of that. And just as I'm getting older, I'm like, wait a second, my body can't take all this. Yeah, exactly, because like 60-foot falls, like even the littlest twerk in your back, you know, can tweak you, so.
Yeah, twerking does a lot. Yeah.
Twerk. Yeah, not the fun kind of twerking.
What's one of your favorite roles that you've had? Since you've had a lot of them. What's one of your favorite ones? Yeah.
Yikes, that's a tough one, honestly. That's a super tough one. I could tell you who my favorite director was to work with.
Oh, who?
Vince Gilligan.
Vince Gilligan.
Vince Gilligan. That's the same person from Breaking Bad.
Yes, Better Call Saul.
Yeah, and Better Call Saul.
What was your favorite thing about him? What did you like him so much?
My favorite thing about working with Vince was the fact that he's so methodical and so deliberate. Like, he had us rehearse scenes at least, and this might sound a little bit excessive to people but he had us rehearse scenes at least like 50 times. Without even filming it. Without even filming. So that by the time he said action, it was so natural, it was so real, like you didn't even have to think about it.
Is the rehearsals like on the same day? Or
Yeah,
is
it's all the same day.
Oh, it's all the same day.
Yeah, it's all the
Okay.
same. So he can make little tweaks, little adjustments as we're going in rehearsal. But it just, to me, that was like the greatest experience I ever got as far as working with the director.
Does it feel different when the cameras are rolling as opposed to just rehearsal, or is it just
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it does feel different, and there's a different energy that you bring to the performance. But when Vince did that so many rehearsals, there was no separation anymore. That's why I liked it, because it wasn't like, it was just so real, so organic. There was no separation between, oh, this is the rehearsal, and now this is the action. Like, there was no change.
Yeah, like what I mean is like, oh, rehearsal, all right, let's do this again. And then the cameras roll, okay, now we're perfect.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes,
Yeah.
there's definitely that difference.
You know, that kind of reminds me of like when singing. I know since you're a singer too, is you know, practice a song a bunch of times. Then when you actually get to recording it, it's just you just focus more on the motion, and everything else just comes pretty much naturally.
Yep.
And so you already know the song very well.
Yes, exactly.
So
you know the ins and outs.
Speaking of singing, when did you get into singing?
To singing.
Yeah.
Yesterday. No, I'm kidding. I was signed to LaFace Records way back in the day when I was like 13. It was like Babyface, Mariah Carey, Toni Braxton, like way back then. They created a girl group called, I think we were called Amor. Yeah, we were called Amor. And we were the Latina version of Destiny's Child. And so when it got time to touring, one of the girls, damn you, Susie, she got scared and she backed out. And I was like, damn, I don't know if I'm a strong enough singer to hold this on my own. So I asked my management at the time, I'm like, look, I really want to do this. Do you think I could do this? They spent like a year and a half trying to find another Latina who was attractive, who can sing and dance.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing to find, is that combo of like four
Yes,
things,
yes,
right?
yeah.
And so I just rehearsed all the time, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this solo, because the only person I can rely on is me. Like, I showed up to rehearsals, I showed up for everything. The other girls were a little bit flaky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm calling them out. And then I got signed to Pharrell. You know who Pharrell is, right? For a bit,
Yeah.
went into another girl group. Then that was shelved. So then I went solo
Yeah.
to DreamWorks when they tried to be a label.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
They wanted to,
yeah.
they were doing movies, and then they also had like a music division, which flopped. Again, I was shelved. I was like, ni modo. Then I worked with Outkast, Sleepy Brown, Organized Noise. You know all those guys, right? And then that was another thing that would just flop. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna stick with this acting
This is
thing.
bad luck with the music.
Yeah.
So now you're doing a lot of. I know you mentioned you've been touring with Paul.
Paul Rodriguez, yeah.
How's that
so blessed, man. Like, I don't know how, I mean, like, I know the steps that it took, how I got so lucky, how I was so blessed, but to be mentored under him, or his mentee, is like another world. Like, he's so freaking genius, man. Like, I was doing comedy and I was like doing okay, like my jokes were hitting and it's like no big deal, but he like was like, okay, look, this is what we're gonna do with you, we're gonna revamp it, and this is how you're gonna come out. So essentially I was coming out in like the standard like jeans, t-shirt, covered up, hair in a bun, trying to make myself unattractive. And he's like, first of all, you're lying to your fucking audience. You need to come out like a diva. You look great. Like, you need to show that. And I'm like, I don't know. That's not really funny. He's like, it is if you come out with the right mentality. So he really cultivated the mentality that was going to take for me to come out there the way that I do now, which is, I call myself the ultimate narcissist. So I get the idea of all, you know, people that are very full of themselves. So I take that with the stage, like my opening line
that's like
is
the
just,
character that you
that's
kinda
the
play,
character, yeah. So I come out, opening line is just like, let's face the fucking facts, I'm good looking. And everybody just is like, okay, we don't take this chick seriously, which is perfect. It's a perfect opener to like go into all the jokes that I go into. He's just genius. I can't thank him enough, honestly.
Thank you very much, Liana, for being here and being our guest.
Thanks for coming, hanging out with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining with
I
us.
feel special.
So until next time, guys, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Make sure you guys follow me, yeah?
Yeah.
But don't DM me. Dick pics in the DM, it's ridiculous.
Hey guys, thanks for watching The Camarena Show.
And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss a single episode.